We're going to talk today about card sorting elicitation, and this is presented by Kristina Plauché and Heather Brune.
Seeking, uncovering, acquiring, and elaborating requirements for computer-based systems. What is elicitation? Merriam-Webster defines elicit as to call forth or draw out something. In the context of software engineering, we're eliciting or drawing out software system requirements. In order to build something, we must know what it is required to do. Eliciting the system requirements will clarify the scope of the project and the needs of the stakeholders, such as users and customers. There are many techniques for eliciting requirements. We will explain in detail what card sorting is and its benefits and drawbacks, then discuss when to use card sorting and when not to. Finally, we will explain how we conducted our elicitation and the results. Card sorting is a methodology to study conceptual category structures. Originally developed by psychologists, cards were labeled with either abstract or concrete concepts. The cards were then given to participants to categorize. The essential element to something being a card sort is that it involves real users of your information. It is a tool that helps us understand the people we are designing for. There are three types: open card sorting, closed card sorting, and hybrid card sorting. When performing open card sorting, the participant is simply instructed to categorize the cards in a way that makes sense to them, and then describe the categories they created. When performing closed card sorting, the categories the cards will be sorted into are provided for the participant. The categories for closed card sorting should be kept very simple and hopefully come from a careful analysis of a previously conducted open card sort. Hybrid card sorting combines both open and closed card sorting. The participant is given categories and also has the freedom to create their own. Is card sorting right for you? Card sorting should only be used if the domain is sufficiently understood by both the analyst and the participants. This prerequisite for card sorting, understanding the domain, is the largest drawback to this elicitation technique. The domain is the real world in which the system will ultimately reside. The domain includes social, political, and organizational environments, existing work processes, business goals and issues, and more. To understand the domain, the analyst and participants must understand any constraints the domain may enforce upon the system and its development. If this is not possible, a different elicitation technique should be chosen. It's important to understand the limits of card sorting, and it's helpful to provide detailed descriptions of the items to be sorted. Card sorting is a quick, inexpensive, and reliable method which serves as input into your system. Card sorting works well in the early stages because it gives users an opportunity to create a proposed organization as opposed to reacting to one already in place. I will briefly review selecting the method and conducting the card sort. When selecting the method, it can be open, closed, or hybrid sorting. You can have participants sort as individuals or teams. Team sorting can allow for brainstorming, group work, and observation to all come together in one setting. Valuable information can be learned by listening to the team as they sort. Group dynamics will affect results. Individual sorting is easier to coordinate and get a large number of responses. You also need to decide if you'll perform the sort manually or digitally. Digital card sorting makes it easier for remote participants, gathering large numbers of participants, and the software will process the data collected automatically, eliminating the need to enter results. When conducting the card sort, introduce the activity. Let participants know what's expected of them. Be explicit about the intended purpose of conducting the card sorting study, and be careful to avoid introducing biases or influencing the sorting of categories. You'll hand out the cards and materials. Participants will then sort the cards, label the cards, and you can ask follow-up questions. Ask them about the overall rationale for their grouping approach. This helps you to understand whether their card sort uses an underlying approach or whether they have just made rough groups. You can also ask them to select cards from each group that best represent the group, as well as if there are any parts of the sort they are unhappy with and why. Then record the outcomes.
As Heather described, card sorting can it can be moderated, and that can be a costly way to do it. So one of the ways that it doesn't have to be moderated. So the way that we chose to do this was with a digital card sort remotely online, which makes this process more scalable. So we started looking for an online version that allowed students to do this at their convenience, and there are many resources, but most of them focus on towards paying customers. But we did find a free one with the features that we needed, and it was by a company called Optimal Workshop. And they allow up to 30 cards and 10 participants in the free plan. And in order to get input from 20 stakeholders, we did 2 identical studies. In this screencast, you can see what the user's experience was in our study. We did a hybrid card sort. We had 30 requirements listed on cards, and then users were asked to put those cards in one of 5 categories, or they could make their own category. And once the card sort was set up, like once we set all this up and put the message, we launched it. We sent the URL to BYUI students in the Facebook groups that we belong to, and they were quick to respond, which was great. And one of the benefits of doing this online is that the data is easy to get and export. And so you can see in this screenshot above that we had users create a lot more categories than what we gave them. And many of them selected like multiple categories, like per requirement, and they didn't all select the same thing. So that was interesting. Now, one of the other interesting things about Optimal Workshop is that it has some built-in data analysis features, and one of those is the similarity matrix. It shows how aligned users are in the way they categorize the cards. You can see in this matrix that only one card had 100% of users place it in the same category. Another analysis method is a dendrogram, which is a tree diagram frequently used to illustrate the arrangement of the clusters produced by clustering items in a hierarchy. This skeptical dendrogram is another name for the actual agreement method, and it works best when you have a lot more participants, more than 30, and will depict only factual relationships. And then the next one is the best merge method, which works better in a situation like ours with fewer than 30 participants. And because it makes assumptions about the larger clusters, and you can see in this screenshot from our study, it draws more clear relationships than in this skeptical dendrogram. You also have the participant-centric metric, which lets you see the cards group, the users grouped together. So one way to think of this type of analysis is that each card sort resulted, the result is tested against all the others, and they come up with like an acceptability score, which shows how much the participants agree with each other, and allows us to like ask the question of those who didn't agree, like how did they prefer to group the cards. So we're able to get a lot of quantitative analysis from all of these things, but one of the drawbacks of a digital card sort is that it's hard to get qualitative analysis, but we try to mitigate this by, at the end of the study, asking for feedback. And so we asked them, what are some of your thoughts about why you chose the categories that you did? And we got some responses. They were about keywords, wanting to put things in multiple categories, and that a lot of things seem to be grouped around due dates. And one of the significant things I noticed was that the keywords play heavily into how the user's categories. If a requirement contains the same word as one of the categories, chances are it will be categorized there and not somewhere else. If I were to do this again, I would pay very careful attention to what keywords that I used. In conclusion, card sorting can be done in person or remotely. Online resources make it easy to create, promote, and analyze a card sorting study. This was a great experience, and we got some important data about this semester's project by doing this. Thanks for watching.